Hi, my name is Greg Walter, and I will be telling you why the NCAA Division I Men's Basketball Championship is the best postseason tournament. 8 years ago, there's an epic game of basketball being played. It was the NCAA Division I Men's Basketball Championship game. It was between the Maryland Terrapins and the Indiana Hoosiers. Maryland was dominating the whole entire game, and the Indiana fans were down and losing hope. As the final seconds ticked away, Juan Dixon launched the ball in the air and was immediately mobbed by his teammates. Maryland had just won its first national championship. For the next few minutes, I will show you why the NCAA Division I Men's Basketball Championship is the best postseason tournament out of any tournament in any sport. I will explain through the tournament all the ins and outs of it. I will also explain how teams qualify, how they get picked, and how many teams are in the tournament. I will also explain how the tournament works, like where the games are played, how teams are seeded, and who plays who. Now I will begin to talk about what exactly the NCAA Division I Men's Basketball Championship is. I will start with the history behind the whole tournament. The tournament was created in 1939 by Phog Allen, who was the coach of Kansas at the time. In 1939 through 1950, there was only a total of 8 teams in the tournament. The tournament has increased in number of teams many different times since it was created. It currently stands at 65, but next year it is already expanding to 68. It was established that if a team won their conference tournament, that they get an automatic bid to play in the NCAA championship tournament. The tournament was so small back then because there was only 8 conferences back when it was first created. The only way a team could make the tournament was to win their conference tournament. Early on, when this tournament was first created, it did not give bids to teams that were better than the other teams that might have beat them by a fluke in the conference tournament. Since then, that has changed because of the expansion and the more teams that are now allowed in. The game's locations were different for each division they're in, and that still is the same today. And the finals are also located elsewhere like they are today. This tradition has been kept from back then until today. Now I will begin to show how the tournament has changed from back then and more in depth about how teams get involved in the tournament. First, I'll explain how some teams automatically qualify. A team automatically qualifies when they win their conference tournament. A conference tournament is when every team in that specific league is finished playing their league schedule, and at the end of the schedule they have a tournament, and whoever wins the championship will represent their conference in the championship tournament of the whole NCAA. There are 31 conferences, so 31 teams automatically qualify, but one of those 31 does not have a conference tournament, and that is the Ivy League. Therefore, whichever team has the best record during the regular season, they get the automatic bid. The other way teams qualify is by receiving an at-large bid. A team can receive an at-large bid if the committee that picks the team feels like that team beat some other good teams and played a pretty hard schedule. The computer actually rates a team's SOS, or strength of schedule. This means that if a team has played a weak schedule, the committee probably won't look at them very highly, and they'll look at someone else. Another thing that they use to rate teams is called the RPI, or the Rating Percentage Index. This system accumulates teams that have beat, who they have beat, and who they have lost to, and takes into account the strength of schedule as well. So you want to have a pretty low RPI to be one of the higher ranked teams. So there are 34 at-large teams chosen by the committee, and the tournament has 65 altogether. And next year that 34 will be changed to 37 because there will be 68 teams in the tournament. And there are 4 separate divisions of 16 teams in each division. In each division, the best teams are chosen by the committee and seeded by the committee 1 through 16. The 1 seed is being the strongest and the 16 the weakest, and so on and so forth. One division has what they call a play-in game. This game features 2 week conference tournament winners against each other to see who will play as the 16 seed in one of the divisions. Once that game is over, the field is set at 64 and the madness begins. The matchups are as follows. 1 plays the 16, and then the 8 plays the 9, the 5 plays the 12, the 4 plays the 13, the 6 plays the 11, the 3 plays the 14, 7 plays the 10, and the 2 plays the 15. The bracket is separated from the top and the bottom. The top side of the bracket is the following seeds: the 1, the 16, the 8, the 9, the 5, the 12, the 4, and the 13. And the bottom is the 6, the 11, the 3, the 14, the 7, the 10, the 2, and the 15. The winner of the 1 versus 16 will play the winner of the 8 versus 9, and the winner of the 5 versus 12 will play the winner of the 4 versus 13, and then the winners of those games will play each other. In the bottom half, the winner of the 6 and 11 will play the winner of the 3 and the 14, and the winner of the 7 and 10 will play the winner of the 2 and 15, and then the winners of those games will play. After all that top half, we'll have one team left, and after all that, the bottom will have one team left. These 2 teams will play, and the winner will go to the Final Four, where they will meet the winner of the other 3 divisions. In the Final Four, 2 of the division winners will play, and the winner will meet the winner of the other matchup and the other 2 division winners. It sounds confusing, but bear with me. And finally, the winner of this game will be the national champion. Games are played in random cities across the U.S. The first 2 rounds of the tournament will be played at 4 different sites for the teams in a specific bracket. Those 4 sites will coincide with the matchups in the first 2 rounds. After the second round, there will be 4 teams left in every bracket, and those 4 teams will play in the same place until the Final Four. Now that I've explained this crazy tournament, I will compare it to other postseason tournaments in sports. I will now show you how the NCAA Division I Men's Basketball Championship compares to the NBA playoffs, the MLB, and the NFL playoffs. Let's start with the NFL first. There's only 6 teams in the AFC playoffs and 6 teams in the NFC playoffs. The NCAA tournament has 65. There's only 3 rounds before you reach the Super Bowl, or possibly 2 if you're one of the top 2 teams in your league. In the NCAA tournament, there's 4 rounds before the Final Four and a total of 6 rounds if you win the championship. The NFL playoffs lasts a total of 4 weeks, depending if they skip a week before the Super Bowl or not. The NCAA only lasts 3 weeks, and there's almost 10 times more teams. Now let's move on to the MLB playoffs. The MLB playoff consists of only 2 rounds before the World Series. The first round is a best-of-5 series, and the second round is a best-of-7. Compared to the NCAAs, don't you think the MLB playoffs are a little dragged out for only a total of 8 teams? The MLB playoffs can last to up a month and a half also, depending upon how long the series take. And lastly, to the never-ending NBA playoffs. The NBA playoffs consist of 8 teams in 2 different conferences. There's a total of 4 rounds in the playoffs, and every series is a 7-game series, so you can imagine how long this will take. It is not uncommon that a team only plays twice a week during the NBA playoffs. This is why the never-ending story of the NBA playoffs can last up to 2 months. And once again, the NCAA's is only 3 weeks, and it's 65 teams. So when you compare the NCAA playoffs to that of the NBA, MLB, and the NFL, it's obviously proven that the NCAA is shorter with plenty more teams, not to mention the many upsets that aren't supposed to happen that actually do. As Maryland had won their first national championship, Juan Dixon launched the ball into the air. I still remember the feeling I had as I stood in the stands of the Georgia Dome in Atlanta, Georgia. It was a hard feeling to describe, a feeling of ecstasy and unbelief. A feeling that I have only felt once in my life. This is what could also happen to you if your favorite team ends up winning the NCAA Division I Men's Basketball Championship.